If you work at a desk like I do, stay healthy, make the most of every day with an Uplift standing desk. I've been using an Uplift standing desk for years, long before they became a sponsor, because no company offers more ways to customize your new standing desk. Over 200,000 possible configurations from cable management to lighting. Go to upliftdesk.com/Pacman to get up to 5 free accessories, free same-day shipping, free returns, an industry-leading 15-year warranty, and an extra discount off of your entire order. The link is in the description.
Welcome to the David Pacman Show. Unless this is your first time tuning in and you think that I might be David, I need to set you at ease. I am not David Pacman. My name is Jesse Dollemore. I host the Dollemore Daily on YouTube, a program very similar to this, and I co-host a podcast called I Doubt It Podcast with the lovely, talented, and indeed scholarly Brittany Page. Buckle up. We got a lot to talk about today, and we're going to start with the tragedy surrounding the nearly 70 lives lost when a commuter jet collided with an Army helicopter, a Black Hawk helicopter. We knew that Donald Trump's second term was going to be chaotic. We knew it was going to be damaging. We knew it was going to be dangerous. But I think a lot of us didn't quite suspect it would get off to such a rocky start. And Donald Trump has proven himself to be that agent of chaos. Especially, it's highlighted when we have an incident like we did at National Airport just the other day. This set of clips I'm getting ready to play should make you very afraid. And not in an alarmist kind of, be afraid and everybody should hide under their pillows and not fight against the fascistic agenda of Donald Trump and the damaging, deleterious effects that he's going to cause up and down the government and for people who rely upon the government for services. I'm not even talking about that. Donald Trump is now in a state of confusion almost 24/7 in a manner that was different than the first term. He has staffers handing him documents, just telling him to sign them. He's asking them, what is this document that I'm signing? Explain it. Acting as though he has any understanding of what it is. I'm going to play several clips here. One takes place at about 4 p.m. yesterday when Donald Trump was handed documents, just like I just described, by a staffer. And the first part of it is him assigning someone to be the Federal Aviation Administration's administrator because there wasn't one. This tragedy occurred, and there was no one at the helm because Donald Trump hadn't gotten around to naming somebody to be in charge. The other element of the clip is Donald Trump signing effectively, it's a White House memorandum that says, hey guys, this wasn't my fault. This was Obama's fault somehow. This was Joe Biden's fault somehow. It couldn't be Donald Trump. The thing I've been talking about the last few days is that anything that happened wrong during Joe Biden's term was Joe Biden's fault. And anything that happens wrong during Donald Trump's term is also Joe Biden's fault. Watch this first clip.
There's 2 items for your signature today. The first is the formal commission appointing Chris Rochelot to be the Deputy Administrator of the Federal Aviation Administration. Right. And since the commissioner position since the administrator position is currently vacant, he will act as the administrator since he's now been appointed deputy.
And he's a very capable guy.
Extremely experienced in aviation and highly regarded in the industry and in government.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Second, for your signature, we have a presidential memorandum titled Immediate Assessment of Aviation Safety. In light of the damage done to aviation safety by the Biden administration's DEI and woke policies, what this presidential memorandum orders is for your Secretary of Transportation and FAA Administrator, in this case acting FAA Administrator, to basically ensure that we are actively undoing all of that damage, that we are assessing how much damage was done, and that we're ensuring that people hired within the FAA, in keeping with your memorandum of January 21st, are only the most outstanding, capable people for the jobs that they are being hired into.
In other words, competence.
Yes, sir. Elevating competence over everything else instead of the DEI policies that were pursued by the Biden administration.
I think everyone understands that. And Obama,
Yes.
both of them. Okay, but Biden much worse, not even a contest. What they've done is just crazy in so many other ways.
The toady explaining Donald Trump having no understanding whatsoever of what's going on. He's just not in the loop this time. It is what we expected, though, that Donald Trump learned from the mistakes of his first administration, and now he's just surrounded himself with the worst people who have the worst intentions for the country. Unfortunately, in moments like this, it's when you really start to realize just how much we need leadership at times like this. Donald Trump blaming someone else for something that happened on his watch because of his failures, and then also blaming DEI and woke policies. And we'll get to that these woke policies that he's decrying right now are actually put into motion on his watch. We'll get to that. I want to go to earlier in the day, though. Late morning yesterday, when Donald Trump came out, was blaming the DEI and had Pete Hegseth there trying to, yes, sir, thank you for your leadership. You're such a bold and mighty man. I love and worship you. You are a demigod, the greatest president the earth has ever known. It's all very gross, but very on brand for Donald Trump. In fact, let's start there before we get to the presidential memo and start with Pete Hegseth and the sycophantic bootlick act that he's going through.
But I want to echo what the Transportation Secretary and you, Mr. President, said, because it pertains to the DOD as well. We will have the best and brightest in every position possible. As you said in your inaugural, it is colorblind and merit-based. The best leaders possible, whether it's flying Black Hawks and flying airplanes, leading platoons, or in government. The era of DEI is gone at the Defense Department. And we need the best and brightest, whether it's in our air traffic control, or whether it's in our generals, or whether it's throughout government. So thank you for your leadership and courage on that, sir, and we'll stand by you on it. Thank you.
Thank you for your leadership and courage, Donald Trump. Your courage, Donald Trump. They're beating the drum of DEI. They're beating the drum of woke because that's the only card they've got. All morning they beat this drum. Here's Donald Trump actually being asked about it by a reporter and saying that, look, it's common sense that this has to do with DOI. It's common sense.
Today, blamed the diversity elements, but then told us that you weren't sure that the controllers made any mistake. You then said perhaps the helicopter pilots were the ones who made the mistake.
It's all under investigation.
I understand that. That's why I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. We want brilliant people doing this. This is a major chess game at the highest level. When you have 60 planes coming in during a short period of time, and they're all coming in different directions, and you're dealing with very high-level computer work and very complex computers. And one of the other things I will tell you is that the systems that were built, I was going to rebuild the entire system, and then we had an election that didn't turn out the way it should have.
I was going to do this. I was going to do that. Not my fault, guys. DEI, it's woke. It's the black people. They're to blame. Even though they have no details of what's going on at the point that he's speaking right there. Now we know that one of the crew of the helicopter was a white person. It doesn't matter. All of the people in the cockpits of both aircrafts, I'm certain, were highly qualified, highly skilled, highly trained. But Donald Trump needs a scapegoat. Anything to deflect attention away from what his failures and shortcomings are. Now, he's right there saying it's common sense. He just knows because it's so clear, it's so self-evident that it must be DEI. He was asked about this while defending his mighty presidential memorandum, blaming everyone else, and had a little different tune later in the day.
And Obama,
Yes.
both of them. Okay, but Biden much worse, not even a contest. What they've done is just crazy in so many other ways. Okay?
Mr. President, to be clear, are you saying race or gender played a role in this tragedy?
It may have, I don't know. Incompetence might have played a role. We'll let you know that. But we want the most competent people. We don't care what race they are. We want the most competent people, especially in those positions. And you're talking about extremely complex things. And if they don't have a great brain, a great power of the brain, they're not going to be very good at what they do, and bad things will happen.
Did race or gender play a role in this tragedy? I don't know. It may have. Little different than it's common sense. I have common sense. That's how I know. You see, the strategy is to throw as much against the wall to see what sticks, because it gives right-wing propagandists in Fox News and Newsmax and OAN and the disparate satellite network of print media for the right and idiots like Charlie Kirk, it gives them the marching orders with what lie to go with. It gives Jesse Waters on Fox News something to talk about and directives on how to speak about it. And then they can walk it back. Again, dangerous, dangerous times. The other element of this tragedy with 67 dead, with the collision of a helicopter and a commuter jet, is Donald Trump claiming that this was all about DEI. It was all about the woke. It was all about the CRT. It was all about whatever racist agenda item he wants to push. And he points to diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in hiring for the FAA, as though they're hiring the worst of the worst, and you don't have to be qualified at all, the only qualifier being the color of your skin or your gender or your disability. That's what they would have you believe. The problem with this is Donald Trump is responsible for the very policy that he's decrying right now, that he's yelling about, that he's screaming about. And in his announcement yesterday, I'm going to play a little bit of this, is Donald Trump announcing to the world the problem, and he reads from an article. The problem is the article that you're going to hear him read from, he doesn't show it, but the article that you're going to hear him read from, he says was about 2 weeks ago. In fact, it was a year ago. It was January of 2024. We're now in January of 2025. So Donald Trump wants to act like this was all because of Biden. He just left. This is the problem. All this Fox News reporting. He's just lying and deflecting, and we'll get to that. But first, his announcement where he's just lying at about a record-breaking clip, even for Donald Trump.
I do want to point out that various articles that appeared prior to my entering office, and here's one. The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they want them, they can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so. This was on January 14th, so that was a week before I entered office. They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. Then another article, the federal aviation.
I'm going to stop in there. It is not another article. What he's reading from, I'll put it on screen as he talks when the clip continues, but it is not another article. It's actually the first paragraph of the article that he's lying about, saying was 2 weeks ago when it was January 14th, 2024. We'll let him continue.
FAA's program. Then another article, the Federal Aviation Administration. This was before I got to office, recently, second term. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine? These are people that are I mean, actually, their lives are shortened because of the stress that they have. Brilliant people have to be in those positions, and their lives are actually shortened, very substantially shortened, because of the stress, where you have many, many planes coming into one target, and you need a very special talent and a very special genius to be able to do it. Targeted disabilities are those disabilities that the federal government, as a matter of policy, has identified for special emphasis in recruitment and hiring. The FAA's website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and dwarfism all qualify for the position of a controller of airplanes pouring into our country, pouring into a little spot, a little dot on the map, a little runway.
It is not those characteristics of those people that he's naming, where it be partial paralysis or dwarfism. That is not what qualifies you to be an air traffic controller. I would say, and Donald Trump knows this, but I'm not sure he does. But certainly Jesse Waters knows it, because he was given marching orders by Donald Trump for Fox News to run with this lie, to cement it into the minds of MAGA Americans everywhere, and he ran with it. Now, I want you to pay attention closely to the words Donald Trump just said, that list of partial paralysis and intellectual disability, or whatever those things were, those characteristics. And I want you to pay attention to how Jesse Waters frames them. And then we're going to get to the Washington Post fact check that shows that Donald Trump actually is responsible for this thing that he now says is DEI and woke and terrible and to blame, even though it's not, for the crash in Washington, D.C.
How are air traffic controllers not essential workers? I have no idea. And this DEI thing isn't just a race thing. Biden instituted DEI quotas at the FAA in order to recruit workers who were deaf, vision impaired, missing limbs, completely paralyzed, epileptic, people who were severely intellectually disabled, psychiatrically disabled, and dwarfs. This was Biden's FAA just 2 years ago.
We need a diverse group of air traffic controllers to bring distinct perspectives to handle the ever-changing aerospace landscape. I'm calling on students and alumni from HBCUs, Hispanic serving institutions, and tribal colleges to apply now to become air traffic controllers.
To apply now to become air traffic controllers, if indeed qualified, if indeed they pass through training and certify themselves as capable to do the job. Not by virtue of the fact that they come from historically black colleges and universities, or Hispanic serving institutions, or tribal colleges. That's not what gets you the job. Jesse Waters knows this. Most of the right wing, they know this. Donald Trump, he's a dumb guy. I don't know that he knows it. Enter Washington Post fact check. They gave this one 4 Pinocchios from Donald Trump, and it's good ammunition to have to go into your day, whether you're on social media, whether you're at work, whether you're with family, to be able to set the record straight about the exact deal with this particular initiative. Here's the headline from the Washington Post. Trump launched air controller diversity program that he now decries. At news conference, Trump read a list of disabilities he calls disqualifying, but his administration started such hiring in 2019. Here are the facts. In the news conference, Trump said Obama weakened standards and, quote, I changed the Obama standards from very mediocre at best to extraordinary. Then they changed it back. That was Biden. That's false. In his first term, Trump left the standards unchanged. For air traffic controllers, the Obama administration in 2013 instituted a new hiring system that introduced a biographical questionnaire to attract minorities underrepresented in the controller corps. The program was criticized, such as in a Fox News report in 2015, as making it harder for more skilled applicants to get hired on as controllers. But Trump in his first term left the policy in place, leading to a class action lawsuit filed in 2019 by Mountain States Legal Foundation. The case was due to go to trial. this year. Now, the problem with this is, and I'm not going to read every single paragraph here, but a lot of the links, because Donald Trump is purging anything having to do with woke DEI, we're not talking about that. And I almost made a Pete Hegseth joke, and I didn't. Yeah, see, look, I have discipline. I can control myself. They're purging the internet links of January 6th convictions and what their crimes were, and also all of this stuff from Donald Trump's first administration. And that is where this comes in. The link under targeted disabilities is now dead, but the Wayback Machine retains links from June 2017 and January 2021 that show the page was unchanged during Trump's tenure. The list, remember the list that Donald Trump named and that Jesse Waters just named, except Jesse Waters, he didn't read it correctly. This is the list. Hearing, total deafness in both ears, vision, blind, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, dwarfism. The June 2019 page for the Aviation Development Program, ADP, also now removed, but still visible on the Wayback Machine, said the program provides an opportunity for persons with targeted disabilities, PWTD, to gain aviation knowledge and experience as an air traffic controller student trainee. Participants would get a year of experience in an air route traffic control center with a possibility of getting a temporary appointment at the FAA Academy. A lot of hoops to jump through. An absolute series of accomplishments that you need to make before you get hired on as a full-time air traffic controller. This isn't about DEI. This isn't about hiring someone because solely on the color of their skin or their religion or their lived experience. This is about finding qualified people who are also members of those different ethnicities or disability groups, minority groups in general. It's about making our government look more like the tapestry of America and not like Donald Trump's family, not like Pete Hegseth's family, not like every other member of his cabinet's family up to this point. The other element of this story is Donald Trump's callousness. And I don't know whether it's callousness or confusion. I'm going to let you be the guesser on this one. You're going to be able to pick what you think it is. But when the Wall Street Journal is dragging you like this headline, Trump, you want me to go swimming? It makes me wonder if Donald Trump is indeed being a little dickish like he's prone to be, or if he's just actually concerned because a reporter asked him a question. Two questions, actually. One was about, listen, you put a hiring freeze on and you actually asked a bunch of federal employees, you offered them a severance to quit now, and we're going to pay you 8 months salary up through like September if you quit now. Do you think that this could be a problem going forward? She asked that. And then she asked, hey, are you going to visit the families? Are you going to go visit the crash site? To which he responds about, well, the crash site's in the water. You want me to go swimming? You want me to go in the water? And again, I don't know if he's just being a jerk off or if he's confused about what it would entail to go visit the site of the crash down here a mile or so away from where I am on Gravelly Point. You don't have to go into the water, Donald Trump, in a rowboat. Anyway, watch this and then let's talk about what you think on the other side.
Mr. President, you've offered over 2 million federal workers the option to resign immediately.
Right.
There are 50,000 FAA employees. Does this tragedy give you reason to reconsider that option of resignations because of concerns
No,
about
there's
staffing issues
no.
on airline safety?
If people aren't coming to work, if they're not going to come into the office and report as per the date that you know what it is, everybody knows what the date is, it's been very well documented, then they're going to be terminated.
You're not concerned though that if many people take that offer, there could be shortages that could lead to
Then they'll be
issues.
replaced with very competent people. We have a lot of competent people in this country.
I'm going to stop it there. Let's address those items there. I contend that Donald Trump is a lot more confused a man than he was his first term. He's a lot more confused a man than he was during Biden's term. And the stress and the weight of the job is just piling down upon him. Did you hear his answer about the dates? He has it's very clear he has no idea the dates. He's acting like everybody knows, it's well documented. You know the dates, I know the dates. He doesn't say the date because he doesn't know the date. What was the quote? No, if people aren't coming to work and they're not going to come in to the office and report as per the date that you know what it is, everybody knows what the date is. It's been very well documented. He doesn't know. Is it not a problem that the President of the United States speaks with such little authority on matters that he should have subject matter expertise about? For me, it is a problem. Now, the reporter moves on and asks about, have you spoken to the victims' families? Are you planning to visit the site of the crash? And it doesn't get any better.
A lot of competent people in this country.
Have you spoken to any of the families of the victims of the plane crash?
I don't want to comment on that.
Do you have a plan to go visit the site?
I have a plan to visit, not the site, because you tell me, what's the site? The water?
Or to meet
Want
with
me
the
to go
first
swimming?
responders down there?
I don't have a plan to do that, but I will be meeting with some people that were very badly hurt with their family member, obviously, but I'll be meeting with some of the families, yeah.
And then he just kind of goes into autopilot about visiting with someone who's been very badly hurt. People were killed. 67 people are dead. There is no very badly hurt. They're all dead, Donald Trump. Families are mourning. They need a comforter in chief. They need someone to answer questions for them, to tell them that the country is here for them, thinking about them, to give them whatever comfort can be delivered. And your snark, if that's what it is, about going swimming, unhelpful, unjustified, disgusting. It's not leadership. Or is it that you're confused, Donald Trump? I guess that's the question.
If you work at a desk like I do, I often find myself sort of discouraged because I'm sitting for a long time, or at least I used to, until I found Uplift Desk. Uplift Desk is at the forefront of ergonomic solutions, promoting better posture and health through adjustable standing desks. And I've been using Uplift standing desks for years, long before they became a sponsor. One of my favorite things about Uplift Desk is the endless configuration of accessories. I've got cable management, power outlets, monitor arms to my right. If you want a bottle opener or a hammock, they make that available too. Uplift Desk gives way more options for building your perfect workspace, and they make it easy with the Desk Configurator tool on their website with over 200,000 possible combinations. If you're looking for comfort, Uplift Desk also offers seating options, footrests, balancing boards, standing pads, which I have. Go to upliftdesk.com/Pacman to get up to 5 free accessories, free same-day shipping, free returns, an industry-leading 15-year warranty that covers the whole desk, and an extra discount off of your entire order. The link is in the description.
Welcome back to the David Pacman Show. I'm Jesse Dollemore, host of the Dollemore Daily on YouTube and I Doubt It podcast in podcast land. Yesterday was Kash Patel's confirmation hearing in the United States Senate. Kash Patel, we'll get to it, but the man who vowed retribution and going after the media and enemies of Donald Trump. He's compiled an enemies list that he wrote a book about. He's thick as thieves with people who attempted to overthrow the United States government, end democracy in America by overturning a free and fair settled American election. He's one of these types, one of the worst of the worst. And he carries with him just an absolute unearned arrogance in his answers to several United States senators who hold his fate relative to this position in their hands. It's just abject disrespect for the constitutional authority of the United States Senate to provide advice and consent on cabinet level nominations. I got a couple clips here First, though, I want to start with who he is if you're unfamiliar, if you've forgotten about just what a danger he poses, just how thick as thieves he is with Steve Bannon, the agent of chaos in MAGA world, and his threats, his promises to go after not only the media, but also just generally enemies of Donald Trump.
The 20th of January of 2025. Do you feel confident that you will be able to deliver the goods, that we can have serious prosecutions and accountability? And I want the Morning Joe producers that watch us and all the producers that watch us, this is just not rhetoric. We're absolutely dead serious. We're not. You cannot have a constitutional republic and allow what these deep staters have done to the country. The deep state, the administrative state, the fourth branch of government never mentioned in the Constitution, is going to be taken apart brick by brick. And the people that did these evil deeds will be held accountable and prosecuted, criminal prosecutions. Kash, I know you're probably going to be head of the CIA, but do you believe that you can deliver the goods on this in a pretty short order the first couple of months so we can get rolling on prosecutions?
Yes, we got the bench for it, Bannon, and you know those guys. I'm not going to go out there and say their names right now so the radical left-wing media can terrorize them. But, excuse me, the one thing we learned in the Trump administration the first go-around is we got to put in all America patriots top to bottom. And we got them for law enforcement. We got them for intel collection. We got them for offensive operations. We got them for DOD, CIA, everywhere. And the one thing we will do that they never will do is we will follow the facts and the law and go to courts of law and correct these justices and lawyers who have been prosecuting these cases based on politics and actually issuing them as lawfare. We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you all on notice. And Steve, this is why they hate us. This is why we're tyrannical. This is why we're dictators.
This is why we're tyrannical. This is why we're dictators. Look, a lot of people chided me when I said this guy's up for a big time position within the Trump administration. At least he'll be nominated. Even right there, Steve Bannon talking about him being going to lead the CIA. Kash Patel heading up the CIA. Obviously, Donald Trump saw a better position for him, a more useful position to him relative to his plans for retribution, his plans for revenge, and that would be the FBI director, which now he's going through a Senate confirmation hearing about, promising we will come after the media. Steve Bannon, will you be able to deliver the goods right away and get these prosecutions rolling? And he promised he would. And when he was asked about this by Senator Cory Booker from New Jersey, he lied. Oh, to the best of my recollection, no. Which is an answer to the question of, have you spoken with anybody in the transition team or Donald Trump about your plans for retribution, about your enemies list and going after them? Have you talked to them? Should be an easy question. Should be a yes or no. You just remembered it. Donald Trump just got reelected. Instead, it's, not to the best of my recollection. What? Watch this.
Have you had any conversations with anyone on the transition team about pursuing any investigations or targets?
Only following the Constitution.
Again, are you certain?
That I've told people on the
Are you certain? Have you had any conversations with anyone on the transition team about pursuing any investigations or targets?
Senator, to the best of my recollection, I've only said I will use the Constitution.
Have you discussed specific investigations or targets you would pursue as FBI director with the President of the United States?
Senator, to the best of my recollection, no.
Are you certain?
To the best of my recollection, no.
Seems like you'd know. Seems like you'd have recollection if you've had conversations with members of the Trump transition team about retribution targets, about revenge targets, about criminal prosecutions, about going after the media to prosecute them for their lies. That'd be something that would stick in your mind, would it not? If you ask me, hey, have you had conversations about the retribution you'd like to see come the way of Kash Patel? I'd say, no, I haven't had those conversations. No. Flatly, plainly. The next clip I'm going to play for you is to rebut what follows. And that is this 24-second, I think it's Jordan Uhl, put this together of all of the different times, or many of the different times, that Kash Patel appeared on racist, white supremacist, Nazi admirer Stu Peters' show. He was asked about this and acted like, who? What? I don't know what you're talking about. So I wanted to front load his several interactions with Stu Peters before we got to the question from Dick Durbin.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Stu. Always love coming on your show.
Kash Patel, thank you so much for making the time to be here with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Stu. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Stu. Appreciate it. See you soon.
I got to go, Kash. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thanks,
up
Stu.
against a hard break here. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it, Stu.
Kash Patel, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Stu. Appreciate it. You've got a great show.
Thank you.
We'll get to who Stu Peters is, but first I want to show you this interaction between the ranking member now of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Dick Durbin, asking about this particular individual. Do you know him? How well do you know him? Why have you been on his show so many times? And you would think after having appeared almost a dozen times, he would remember him. Instead, this was his answer in this interaction with Dick Durbin.
To serve as the Deputy Director of National Intelligence for this country is a racist in any way, and I detest any conjecture to the contrary.
You familiar with a Stu Peters? Does that name ring a bell?
I'm sorry, what?
Are you familiar with Mr. Stu Peters?
Not off the top of my head.
He made 8 separate appearances on his podcast. He promoted outrageous conspiracy theories and worked with a prominent neo-Nazi. There are more, Ted Nugent, it goes on, list goes on. I'm just asking, when it comes to your association with individuals, why are so many of them in this category?
My association, as you loosely define it, is by appearing in media over 1,000 times to take on people who are putting on conspiratorial theories and to devour them of their false impressions and to talk to them about the truth. That is something that I will always continue to fight for, Senator.
Senator Graham.
Is it me, or is he using words incorrectly a lot to devow them of what? This guy has been named to be the FBI director and is just not getting it done. Especially not getting it done relative to his association with white supremacists and Holocaust deniers and Jew haters and just neo-Nazi types like Stu Peters, who has raged all day long yesterday. All day he raged about this denial that he knew who he was. The deer in the headlights look from Kash Patel about the Stu Peters question. He said, what did he say? I'm sorry, what? What? Here's Stu Peters, a retweet from Stu Peters of Aryan Rebel. Aryan Rebel retweeted this tweet, despite appearing on my show 8 times. Kash Patel feigns ignorance when asked about his association with anti-Semite neo-Nazi Stu Peters during his Senate confirmation hearing. That was retweeted by Aryan Rebel. This is proof enough that we are owned by, and then there's a hand pointing to an Israeli flag emoji. The Aryan Rebel, Stu Peters, retweeted him. Here's another one of an AI image. I can only imagine because Stu Peters has little sausage arms, and this AI image has slightly larger biceps and triceps than the actual Stu Peters. The more troubling item is that this is Nuremberg County line, and he's carrying a noose and a weapon. Here's another one that Stu Peters tweeted himself. A picture of him holding Mein Kampf with the note, visionary leadership, from Stu Peters. These are the people that Donald Trump sees fit to put in the highest positions of authority in our land. The director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who consorts with Nazis, who attends rallies with Laura Loomer, who talks about QAnon on a regular basis while feigning as though he fights against conspiracy theories, promoting one of the biggest conspiracy theories of all, that Joe Biden lost or didn't win the 2020 election, that Donald Trump was actually victorious and was only because it was stolen from him. That's what he's trafficking in. It's going to be a long 4 years, and we need leaders in this moment more than ever to push back against these nominations. And I really hope that the Senate, the Democrats in the Senate, have a plan to delay and deny Donald Trump any victories. Donald Trump's choice as the head of the FCC is a guy named Brendan Carr. Let me give you a few little nuggets about who Brendan Carr is before we jump into this. The fact that Donald Trump is now directing the FCC to harass, to investigate PBS and NPR because of unfavorable coverage from them. If you report the truth, Donald Trump will go after you. This is a signal that weaponization of the federal government is now the order of the day. Under color of law, they will punish outlets that have done nothing wrong but report the truth. Brendan Carr, one, pushed vociferously for Elon Musk to buy Twitter. He was very opposed to any attempt to block the sale of Twitter to Elon Musk. He wrote the chapter about the FCC in Project 2025. That's who Brendan Carr is. On January 22nd, after having taken office, he brought back investigations into CBS, ABC, and NBC of claims of bias. However, he didn't bring back an investigation against Fox News for the same thing. Shocking, right? On January 30th, Carr launched the investigations we're going to talk about today into NPR and PBS. Here's the CNN article. Trump's FCC is investigating NPR and PBS stations over sponsorships. You see, this gets right to the heart of the Project 2025 that Donald Trump disavowed. I know nothing about it. I don't know what it's about. I know nothing, even though coincidentally now, all of the players of Project 2025 are in key positions, including Brendan Carr. Brendan Carr, the Federal Communications Commission's new chairman, on Wednesday ordered an investigation into the sponsorship practices of NPR and PBS member stations. In a letter obtained by CNN, Carr said he was concerned that NPR and PBS broadcasts could be violating federal law by airing commercials. Never been a problem before. No Republican has had a problem with it before, but now that Project 2025 is on the march, being set into motion, all of a sudden, it's worthy of an investigation. In particular, it is possible that NPR and PBS member stations are broadcasting underwriting announcements that cross the line into prohibited commercial advertisements, Carr wrote in a letter, which was sent to NPR Chief Executive Catherine Maher and PBS President and Chief Executive Paula Kerger. NPR and PBS programming is aired to a network of around 1,500 member stations, all of which choose which programs to broadcast. The stations require licenses approved by the FCC to operate, and these licenses limit them as non-commercial educational broadcast stations, which are prohibited by federal law from airing advertisements. The FCC's investigation will probe the underwriting announcements and policies of NPR and PBS, as well as their broadcast stations. In a statement, Maher emphasized that the radio broadcaster and its member stations have complied with FCC regulations. Quote, "We are confident any review of our programming and underwriting practices will confirm NPR's adherence to these rules," Maher wrote. PBS likewise defended its compliance with FCC standards, saying in a statement it has worked diligently to comply with the FCC's underwriting regulations. Carr also, this is the final paragraph here, Carr also sent the letter to congressional lawmakers, and here's the rub. Here's where the rubber hits the road. He also sent a letter to congressional lawmakers noting the investigation, quote, may prove relevant to an ongoing legislative debate over whether to stop requiring taxpayers to subsidize NPR and PBS programming. This is weaponization through the pulling back of funding. It's been a fever dream for decades of the right wing to stop funding NPR and PBS, two outlets that do absolute rock solid work. But it's the agenda item of Project 2025 to pull back funding from woke or DEI or anything that resembles the truth or that combats right-wing ideologies that are now just the order of the day because of the 1.5% difference in the vote between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. The other aspect of combating Donald Trump's agenda and Project 2025 is going to have to, unfortunately, we're going to rely upon the efforts of advocacy organizations and ethics watchdogs like Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. This is a group right here in Washington, D.C. that does amazing work to hold politicians and people in government accountable when they step out of line and they act unethically. And that's just what they're doing here. And this is going to be the first test of one of the IGs that remain after Donald Trump fired more than a dozen of them in a late Friday night thing, hoping that the media would not, that the news cycle would end and no one would talk about it anymore. Fortunately, there are people in independent media like David, like myself, like Brittany Page, like Farron Cousins, like so many others who will talk about these things, who won't let a Friday night story die. We're going to keep talking about it on Monday. This is why independent media is important. This is also why groups like Crew and other advocacy groups are also important. They have written a letter to Horowitz, the Department of Justice IG, asking him to look into, to investigate the deletion of January 6 databases that they say breaks the law. Here's their headline on their website. Deletion of January 6 charges database appears to violate the law. The Department of Justice's removal of a database detailing criminal charges and convictions related to the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol from its website appears to be illegal. Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington sent a letter to the Archivist of the United States and the Inspector General of the Department of Justice urging them to take action and investigate the likely violation of federal law. On January 20th, 2025, President Trump pardoned more than 1,500 people charged for crimes related to their conduct in and around the January 6th attack of the United States Capitol, including many who violently assaulted police officers. Following the pardons, the DOJ removed a database that included information on all related cases prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia. Deleting the database appears to violate 44 U.S. Code subsection 3106, which requires that agencies notify the archivist upon the removal or deletion of federal records. There is no indication that the DOJ reported the deletion to the National Archives and Records Administration. This is problematic for a number of different reasons. One, and less important, is the fact that Donald Trump's DOJ, Department of Justice, the law enforcement arm of the executive branch of the government, isn't aware or is more likely skirting the law, ignoring the law, breaking the law, violating federal law relative to records retention. That's a problem. The other element of this is that Donald Trump is attempting to rewrite history. He believes that if he makes an executive order that says Biden's to blame for the plane crash, it makes it so. It changes history. He also believes that if they delete the records of the database, Americans will forget and it'll be easier to rewrite history of the attempt to overthrow the United States government, their failed coup attempt, their violent insurrection against the Capitol, their attempt to overthrow the government by way of overturning a free and fair settled American election. It's a problem. The DOJ's removal of this database is squarely in line with President Trump's ongoing efforts to rewrite or erase the insurrection and likely violates federal law. Crew urges NARA and the DOJ IG to investigate and take appropriate action, including instructing the agency to issue a report in accordance with federal requirements. Here, I'll just throw the 3 pages up on the screen for you to pause and peruse if you'd like. But this will be the first test of whether Donald Trump's attempt to silence IGs, to strike fear into the IGs that remain, that they might lose their jobs. We're going to see if Horowitz has the mettle. We're going to see if the archivist pushes this issue. This is criminal. Donald Trump is engaging in criminal activity at the behest of the January 6th insurrectionists, to cover for them and to cover for his portion of the crime as well. Hey, thanks for joining me. My name is Jesse Dollemore. I host the Dollemore Daily right here on YouTube. You can subscribe to my channel. That would be fantastic and glorious, and a bunch of other descriptors that I can't think of right now. If David Pakman ever asks you to guest host his show, make sure you're not sick when you end up having to do it. Anyway, I appreciate you very much.
Don't forget that the best way to support the David Pakman Show is by becoming a member, which gives you access to the daily bonus show, the regular show with no commercials. You also get access to our entire archive of every episode dating back a really long time, and plenty of other awesome membership perks. Go to joinpakman.com, joinpakman.com.
Welcome back to the David Pakman Show. My name is Jesse Dollemore. My voice is not the same as David's. Hell, my voice is not the same as mine normally. I am quite under the weather, and as I get through the show today, it's just a free fall right now. So thanks for joining me, and bear with me. Listen, sycophancy has always been an element of those surrounding Donald Trump. The cult-like nature of his followers is something that it just can't be ignored. It is self-evident that they revere this man for some. They revere him for what he can bring to them relative to their conservative agenda items, their fever dream of banning abortion and banning gay marriage and bringing the United States back to the 1940s when black people weren't equal and racism was practiced under color of law. This is the America that they want. But the sycophants really do want to please Donald Trump. And the more power you have, it seems, the more bootlicky you are. Enter Andy Ogles, a Tennessee congressperson who is now attempting, remarkable, to amend the Constitution, to add an amendment to the Constitution, number 28 it will be. We haven't amended the Constitution since 1992, when Congress added the amendment that any pay raise that Congress votes for itself can't take effect until the next Congress. So the people in the House aren't actually voting for a pay raise for themselves. They're voting for a pay raise for the next after the election. Well, Andy Ogles wants to add another one. Here's from his website. Representative Andy Ogles proposes amending the 22nd Amendment to allow Trump to serve a third term. If there was ever an action that cried for attention from Donald Trump, this is it. Now, the first thing that I want to play for you is Donald Trump. What predicated this? This is not new. Donald Trump has been banging on about trying to get a third term or hinting that he's going to be in office for longer than 2 terms for a long time. This is a very brief mashup put together by the Washington Post over 5 years ago of different moments where Donald Trump hinted at this.
Under the normal rules, I'll be out in 2024, so we may have to go for an extra term.
We're going to have to extend my second term because 2026, I'm going to have to extend it for a couple of years. I don't think any of you would have a problem with that.
I was going to joke, General, and say at least for 10 or 14 years, but we would cause bedlam if I said, we go to 20, we go to 24. Did you see it? Then it says 28, 32, 36, 40, 44. He's now president for life. And look, he was able to do that. I think it's great. Maybe We'll have to give that a shot someday. So we have 16, we have 20, we have 24. And you know what's very interesting, though? There are really people out there think I'm not leaving. Can you believe it? Hey, maybe that is a good idea. Let's think.
You see all those lovers of and defenders of the Constitution there? The same people who pull out of their pocket their little pocket Constitution that's in tatters just to prove how much they look at it and read it, and people who talk about raising their right hand like I did when I served in the United States Marine Corps to serve and protect the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. These types of people cheered that on. The same type of people who cheered on him saying that he has every right to terminate all articles and rules and regulations up to and including the Constitution. They cheered him on. Now, a lot of people will say, well, that was just a joke. That was just pre-election. But he's talked about this since he's been reelected, which is what I want to talk about this for. Because this is one, it's self-evident suck-uppery. That's what it is. It's absolutely just kiss-assery on the part of Andy Ogles to Donald Trump. But it's also signaling to the Republicans, get this done. Amend the Constitution so I can run again. And that's if he does it just legally and doesn't just try to stick around through some dictatorial power grab. Here is reporting on him after the election, signaling to Republicans that he wants to have another term.
New reporting now about President-elect Trump's meeting with House Republicans happening right now. He apparently told them, quote, I suspect I won't be running again unless you say he's so good we've got to figure something else out. Those comments ahead of his meeting with President Biden at the White House next hour.
Yeah. So what happened? Andy Ogles sprang into action, sprang from his prostrated position, kissing Donald Trump's ass, brown-nosing Donald Trump, lapping at the boots of Donald Trump to show that he is a worshiper and a loyal subject. And he ran to his office and drafted this resolution. Resolved by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, 2/3 of each house concurring therein, that the following article is proposed as an amendment to the Constitution of the United States, which shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of the Constitution when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states within 7 years after the date of its submission for ratification. That's like boilerplate language that you apply when you write an amendment to the Constitution. And here is the article that will be the 28th Amendment if Republicans have their way. No person shall be elected to the office of president more than 3 times, nor be elected to any additional term after being elected to 2 consecutive terms. And no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. And here, if you think this is a joke, if this is just a waste of time, here is Andy Ogles on with Maria Bartiromo explaining that he believes there's overwhelming support to amend the Constitution to give Donald Trump a 3rd term.
You have introduced a resolution to amend the Constitution to allow President Trump to serve a 3rd term as long as they did not serve 2 consecutive full terms. Tell us about that.
Well, you know, there's certain circumstances in history that are unique. So twice in American history have you had a president serve 2 non-consecutive terms. That would be Grover Cleveland and then, of course, President Donald Trump. And so my bill would amend the Constitution. It, of course, has to go through the ratification process, but it would allow him to serve a 3rd term.
And what kind of a response have you gotten from your colleagues on this resolution?
Well, to be honest with you, you know, President Trump won the battleground states and the popular vote because the grassroots engaged in the election, and they are absolutely excited about the possibility. And at the end of the day, if this were ratified, the American people get to choose whether or not he has a 3rd term. But overwhelmingly, it's been supported. We'll see what happens next.
My guess would be this isn't going anywhere. The hurdles that need to be met, the requirements that need to be met relative to the process of amending the Constitution are pretty difficult. That's why over the course of our 250 years since the Declaration of Independence, since 1789, when the Constitution was ratified, I believe that's the year, it's only been amended 17 times. I'm not counting the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights. It's difficult. Again, my name is Jesse Dollemore. I would love it if you would join me over on my channel, The Dollemore Daily. It's actually just my name, Jesse Dollemore. You can subscribe over there. If you're into podcasts, I host a pretty great one with my co-host, Brittany Page. A lot less buttoned up, if you will, than YouTube. We invite you, and we think you'd have a good time. Anyway, thanks a lot.
If you value what we do at The David Pakman Show, remember to support us on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/David Pakman Show, where you can get access to behind-the-scenes videos, the daily bonus show, the commercial-free daily show. You can support the show for as little as $2 a month. Check it out at patreon.com/David Pakman Show.
Welcome back to The David Pakman Show. My name is Jesse Dollemore. I am struggling through. My voice is failing. I am a little feverish. It's really setting in. I'm getting pretty sick. So you're welcome, David. I'm a man of my word. I agreed to do this a while back. So happy to be here. Very happy to be. Don't let my illness get in the way of me absolutely appreciating you joining me today. So let's talk about Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s confirmation hearing. That was absolutely just a no good, very bad, terrible day, or whatever the title of that kid's book is for him. Absolutely outed as a hypocrite, as a liar, as a turncoat, as a flip-flopper on issues. And it was done no better than by Bernie Sanders, who called him out for flip-flopping on the issue of abortion. Before I get to the clip, though, look, I am someone who champions changing one's mind, but it needs to be logical. Why did you change your mind? It can't be because of political expediency. It can't be because of political opportunity. It has to be for a reason. You either came to new information, or your understanding of the information that has existed for however long changed. None of that is being explained by Robert F. Kennedy, and why he's done a complete 180 on the issue of abortion, a perennial issue for liberals and Democrats and people who care about women's bodily autonomy, and just generally leaving those very serious personal healthcare decisions between a patient and their doctor. But Robert F. Kennedy has given no indication of why he's flip-flopped in as short a period of time about as anybody, and that's what Bernie is getting to here. Watch this.
There is no question that abortion is a divisive issue in this country. I would say a majority of the people are pro-choice. There's a strong minority who are pro-life. A year and a half ago, you went to New Hampshire, running for president, gave a speech, and you talked about government should not tell a woman what she can do with her own body. That's her choice. Now, I think everybody on that side is pro-life. I think everybody here is pro-choice. I have never seen any major politician flip on that issue quite as quickly as you did when Trump asked you to become HHS secretary. Tell me why you think people should have confidence in your consistency and in your word when you really made a major U-turn on an issue of that importance in such a short time.
Senator, I believe, and I've always believed, that every abortion is a tragedy.
But you told the people in New Hampshire that it was their right.
I'm glad Bernie started that way, because it's not just the procedure of abortion that Robert F. Kennedy is now championing to be against. It's not just that. It's also medical-assisted abortions like mifepristone, which Republicans are trying to outlaw. Republicans are trying to nationalize a ban against abortion, even though they said for months and months and months, no, it's just for the states. We want to send it back to the states. That's where everybody wants it. Donald Trump, everybody loved the ruling of the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade. Everybody loved it. Nobody opposed it. But we just want to give it back to the states. And now the conversation has shifted to a national ban, not just on the procedure, on the medical procedure, but also on the distribution and the safety and the efficacy of mifepristone. And this is where Senator Baldwin really drilled down on his opposition to this. And it really lays bare where Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s loyalties lie. He's choosing to ally himself and be loyal to Donald Trump over the science. And this is where the questioning gets to it. She's asking about, are you going to back the policy of Donald Trump or the science? And his answer, I think you can probably guess by the context clues what it is, but it is no less shocking knowing what it's going to be.
The most widely used medication, abortion drug, mifepristone, has been FDA approved for nearly 25 years. More than 100 studies have confirmed that 99% of patients who took the abortion pill had no complications. So with all of that, I can only conclude that you would commit to keep this science-backed and proven medication on the market and accessible for women. Is that correct?
I'm going to, with mifepristone, President Trump has not chosen a policy, and I will implement his policy.
So regardless of the studies, regardless of the data, regardless of the science, you've been talking about, show me the data, show me the studies.
Well, if you
would have that policy
Senator,
regardless of what the science says.
Senator, the devil is in the details. If you're telling me 99% of women did okay, but 1% died, I would say that is not a beneficial risk profile.
That is not what the studies show.
I know, but you're not showing me. I need those details from the study before I can't buy a pig in a poke.
You can't buy a pig in a poke? Did you just morph into Ross Perot all of a sudden? It is rich for a man to worry about the safety of certain substances, who injected heroin into his veins for decades, who made a choice to do that, who takes Zen and drinks alcohol, which is a neurotoxin, yet then whines and yammers about make America healthy again. The hypocrisy is just off the charts, and his fealty and loyalty to Donald Trump above the science is disgusting. It's hard to pick the clips that you're going to go with in hearings like this because there's so many moments to choose from, and the whole entire hour could be spent talking about this particular hearing. But we're going to end it with this Robert Kennedy confirmation hearing, and that's Elizabeth Warren holding his feet to the fire. We need more Elizabeth Warrens. In a Senate filled with John Fettermans, be an Elizabeth Warren. She is hammering him on the ethics of his investments that he stands to make millions on based on how he runs HHS. It is a disgusting and unsurprising ethical quandary that is presented by the fact that Donald Trump is putting millionaire after millionaire after billionaire after billionaire in charge of these cabinet level agencies. And Elizabeth Warren gets right down to the heart of this and mixes it up with him. And it gets very heated with them yelling, actually yelling at one another.
There's a lot of ways that you can influence those future lawsuits and pending lawsuits while you are Secretary of HHS. And I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits so that what you do as Secretary will also benefit you financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I, you have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
Look, no one should be fooled here. As Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars while he does it. Kids might die, but Robert Kennedy can keep cashing in.
Senator, I support vaccines. I support the childhood schedule. I will do that. The only thing I want is good science, and that's it.
How about then say you won't make money off what you do as Secretary of HHS?
The lies and the arrogance and the recalcitrance are so disgusting from these people. They are obviously not up to the task of governance. They are not up to the objective of leadership. They are not up to just telling the truth, these people. They are craven. They are motivated by self-interest and whatever pleases Donald Trump. It's a recipe for disaster. And Democrats need to find within themselves the ability to be the opposition party. We need more AOCs. We need more Jasmine Crockett's. We need more Elizabeth Warrens. We need fewer Fettermans and others. We need people who are in this to represent the people, to push back against a fascist agenda that will damage the people you love, the people who are most desperate in our country. And I, for one, am here for it, and are going to keep pushing and pressuring elected leaders to be the opposition. My name is Jesse Dollemore. I host the Dollemore Daily on YouTube, and I co-host a podcast called I Doubt It Podcast, and I would invite you to subscribe to both of those. We think that we have a pretty good time. I'll see you next time that David sees fit to invite me to guest host. I hope that I've lived up to whatever expectation you may have had. We'll see you next time.
Thanks a lot for watching today's show. I just want to take a second to tell you about today's sponsors. If you work at a desk like I do, stay healthy, make the most of every day with an Uplift standing desk. I've been using an Uplift standing desk for years, long before they became a sponsor, because no company offers more ways to customize your new standing desk. Over 200,000 possible configurations from cable management to lighting. Go to upliftdesk.com/Pacman to get up to 5 free accessories, free same-day shipping, free returns, an industry-leading 15-year warranty, and an extra discount off of your entire order. The link is in the description.